Good morning and welcome on this Monday morning to this little crafty session where we're going to have a bit of fun with some of the things from the new catalogue. Morning, Jackie. Apologies for being a minute too late. I had one of those nights last night when I was awake when I should have been sleeping, so as often happens, consequently I was deep asleep at the point that I was supposed to be awake. So we're there now. We are up and we are dressed. I'm not sure about raring to go, but then it is Monday morning. So I hope you're all well and that you've had a good weekend doing whatever it was that you were hoping to do this weekend, even if that was absolutely nothing. Those sorts of weekends are often really lovely, a big blessing. But this morning we're going to have a look at this Beauty of the Earth suite. So this is one of the new suites in the new catalogue. In fact, it's about the first suite that you come across as you are going through the catalogue, and it contains a pack of DSP, a stamp set, dies that go with it, and an embossing folder in this particular suite. And as you can see, as always, some really beautiful samples there. We've got little layered up trees there with little birds. You've got some stamped trees, and again that little bird is featuring in there. That's on a little box. Got some really pretty, these are die cutting those really pretty papers. That one is just simply using a piece of paper and some of that bark embossing folder, and then some pretty autumnal coloured trees in there with some of that DSP in the background. So a really lovely set. Trees are always so useful. Great for men's cards, but great for the ladies too. But obviously also good one to have on standby for creating Christmas cards as well. There'll be some nice Christmas trees, I think, being made from this one in particular. You just need a few little baubles on there, wouldn't you, or twinkly lights, and you'd be good to go. So this is the stamp set. You do get this sort of tonal effect. So you've got the two stamps that were two-step stamping to build up those effects on there. And it's a photopolymer one, so you're able to see through it. And as we've said before, they've now got these images on the inside of the case, so you can just rest those on the outside and know instantly that you've got everything. And you've got this really useful little stamp here that's going to give you some ground, whether that's grass, mud or snow, whatever the ground is like, you're going to be able to ground your trees. And then you've got the dies. So some of the dies die cut the stamped images. So you've got those two that will die cut your stamped image. You've got this sort of big outline that will die cut this. There we go, that way. You've got like this image piece, and this one will die cut that. So you can just die cut a plain tree top, or you can die cut that sort of fancy holy tree top. You've got your tree trunk with all its branches. Now these bits around the outside here don't cut, that's just there for stability, this metal bit around the back here. You've got a smaller tree trunk just there, smaller tree. You've got two little birds and a couple of pieces for your sentiments, a couple of label pieces. So that is our dies. Now let's see. For some reason I'm not getting, there they are. Couldn't find my comments last week. So morning Beryl, morning Lee, I found your comments. Excellent. They were hiding from me. Right, so this is your bark 3D embossing folder. Gives you a lovely barky effect, funnily enough, and obviously you'd be able to do fun things with that. And then we've got our papers, and I have used some bits of these papers. So you've got this sort of lovely green sort of water washy type effect that's great for cutting your canopies out of. On the back of there, you've got these sort of great little rows of trees that in themselves are really useful additions to a card front. So there's a whole sheet with all those trees. You've got this beautiful print here that again you could die cut your tree canopies out for some autumn leaves. You've got this one on the background here. Again, some more autumny leaves. That would make a lovely scrapbook page. These ones, let's turn that round. Another great scrapbook page, but also these are just the blue trees. So depending whether you would to cut a piece from the top or from the bottom, it depends. That would give you sort of a really nice Christmassy card, wouldn't it? Those blue effect trees just there. I love this. With these different coloured leaves, some in green, some in blue. It's a lovely patterned paper. You've got some paper there that's just sky, isn't it? You've got a whole sheet of sky there. On the other side, you've got again those blues, but also these autumny colours that are multi-tonal. Really pretty. And this one is sort of just a hint of a lot of trees in the background, almost like a mountain scene. And here's the one that's quite often been just cut in half and cut into panels to make card fronts. And we've got a wood grain one, always so useful. Swing that round, and again you've got that sort of effect of a forest of trees, and again you can cut out those tree tops from there. So some lovely woodland papers, or forest papers, or whatever. So let's have a little look and a little play with some of these. Let's take that one. I think I'm going to take some of that one. Might come in with some of that one. Let's have a little bit of a play. So I think we'll start with this one. Let's cut a piece that is 9.5 by 13.9. I'm going to come from the top. So obviously the tree is darker at the bottom, going to more faded at the top. So I'm going to go for the top section, the more faded looking section, like that. I'm going to take, I want a strip of these trees. I want a complete strip, so let me take that one away and add in that one. How wide is that? Let's trim that down. That's about 10.5. So if I take it to 10 that side and 9.5 that side, that's going to leave that little row of trees in place. Let's add that on there. Let's move this piece of paper out of the way for a minute. We'll come back to this one in a second. I think we might go Mossy Meadow in the background. Let's just have a little look at the colours. Mossy Meadow is one of the colours in there, as is Old Olive, Bumblebee, Cinnamon Cider, Merry Merlot, Misty Moonlight. I'm going to take some Old Olive, and I'm also going to take, I think, some Cinnamon Cider. used to be decisive, now I'm not so sure. I do want something inside of the other one. Might go bumblebee on this one. There's very definitely some flashes of yellow in those trees. Yep. I'm going to cut this down to 14.4 by 10. And we'll have our card base, but I think I'm going to cut it this way and have a tent fold, I think. Let's score that about 14.9. Let's measure how wide this piece is. It's just over 3 centimetres, so I'm going to take another piece that's about 4 possibly. I want this to have a flash either side. Let's trim that down a little bit. That wasn't quite wide enough to attempt to trim that down in my trimmer. Let's come in with my chopper. Take it down just a smidge. That's it. And let's cut that so that that is also 9.5. And I'm going to bring in my bark embossing folder. Now obviously with this, I want my bark to run across this way for my card, and I'm going to need to use my big stamping cut and emboss because the embossing folder is too big to go through the smaller machine. Let's have our base plate and our embossing plate. Got our bark in there. Let's lay that through there and just pass it through. And there we have this wonderful crinkly barky effect that we will rest underneath our trees. So it's crinkled it up quite a lot, so we'll have it just so that it's coming out underneath. Something like that. I'm going to bring in, this is the twine, so it's not the linen thread, it's actually the crumb cake twine out of the twine pack that we now do. So I'll add some of that in a minute. But I think we should have a tree, a big tree. Now, shall we go a small big tree or a big tree? I think we're going to go a small big tree. And let's have a look. Let's have a bit of a play. Reach for my bumblebee and reach for some mossy meadow. Let's have a look what this looks like if we use bumblebee and mossy meadow. It might look awful, in which case we will not use it. But let's have a play. Only one way to find out, I think. I think that will be about right sort of size. So I'm going to come in with a sort of more detailed stamp. Let's find which block works best for that. It'll be that one, which is our C block. And let's bring in the mossy meadow. And let's stamp that detail in mossy meadow. Isn't that lovely? And then I'm going to take the other small tree top. These would also make fabulous little bushes in the background if you wanted some bushes. And I've got some bumblebee on there. I think that might be a little bit too much. So I'm going to take a sponge dauber and add in some mossy meadow as well. Let's have a look, see how that goes. Ooh, it's quite pretty. So we've got sort of, it's toned down the yellow. You've still got the yellow in there, but it's just toned it down a little bit. Just coming on over the top of that, sort of fill in some of that white space. Right, let's find our die to die cut that. Oh, we've already got it out. And we'll also need a tree trunk. So I think we're going to go early espresso with that. I think I want it to be a dark brown. Excuse me, rustling around in the background. I think we'll have an early espresso tree trunk. I can bring in my baby ones for this one, or these ones. So let's have a tree. And a canopy. Thank you. Knew that was going to happen. I'm going to come back in with my sponge dauber and come around the edge, take off that white edge. So you could also do that with a blending brush or something, but the daubers are good for adding in the extra colour on the stamp. So when we wanted to add in that additional colour, the daubers are by far the best way with that one. Let me just get rid of the sound of me throwing it out the back door. Just clean up the ink on here so we don't transfer it. Okay, let's build this up. We're also going to want a greeting of some sort. Yeah, we'll go with that. Got a yellow mat just there. And let's stick this across that piece of embossed card. It's amazing how much that shrunk up, because that was about 1 centimetre wider than that piece of paper, but putting it through the embossing folder, it shrunk to be about the same size, so that's worth bearing in mind. And to have that coming across there, let's bring in make sure you give it a good press down because of all the crinkles in the embossed piece. And to bring this round, tie it off with a bow on this edge. And let's stick that bit down. So that paper, you do get the sense of more trees in the background on that print. And then we've got this big tree coming in here. And have you coming down that way a bit. And I'm going to bring in some mini dimensionals. And I'm probably going to have to one in half for the bottom. So I've just snipped the dimensional in half to come up the base of the trunk. We were laying turf yesterday, and I have to say, standing here, my back feels like the back of somebody that was laying turf yesterday. Just a little bit tweaky. Let's have that tree coming there, because we need our canopy on the top. And I think I'm going to take a couple more little dimensionals and pop them on the top here and raise my canopy up as well. Like that. So let's have a look what we've got here. Thinking of you, I believe in you, hello, thank you. Friendships refresh the soul, you truly inspire me. I think we might just have a thinking of you for this one. Trees are quite nice for sending those sort of cards when at times of people just needing to know that somebody out there has got them, is holding them in mind. We might just get away with that little bit of white card. Waste not, want not. Let's grab the little G block. Perfect, and we'll go back to Mossy Meadow. The magpies chattering on the roof. Let's bring in. I think we'll get away with using that. Put that in there actually. And might again dig out my mini dimensionals. And have that coming in down there. Just wondering what we could add onto there. Oh. And throwing bling on the floor, that won't do. Let's take some rhinestones and dark mossy meadow stamping blend. We'll have two big ones. And a smaller one. There we are, we've coloured those green. I'll just add a little bit of sparkle in there. We're going to need an insert, so let's cut one of those while we're here. So I've cut that at 13.9 by 9.5 to come in here. So we could put in a strip of paper, we could just stamp some more canopies, and I think that's perhaps what we'll do. So let's take that detailed stamp again. Obviously if you were doing this you could be more organised, get everything ready and stamp them both at the same time. So let's just have that tree canopy there. And again, we'll ink that up with some bumblebee. Bring in our dauber and add in some mossy meadow just to tone that down and make it a bit more variegated. And then perhaps just come in over the top here like this. And let's stick that inside. And you could do the same on your envelope as well, just add a tree top to the flap on your envelope. So there's one little card. So making use of some of those really lovely papers and building up some different colours on the tree top. Bit of that embossing folder in there as well. So rather sweet. A nice card to send to somebody you want to let know that you're thinking about them. So many people at the moment feels as if they need cards to let them know that we're thinking about them. Just give these a bit of a block sweat. bit of a dabble. Okay, where's the stamps gone? There they are. So that is the sort of fill-in one, and this is the more detailed one. And somewhere just there we have our sentiment. Right, back to square one. Let's start again. So for our second card, thought we will have some cinnamon cider on this one, I think. And we're going to use some of this one. Such a pretty paper. Let's just cut this card base down. So we're doing a standard card base there. I'm just going to cut Nine and a half by 13.9. I'm not going to use all of that panel, but I will cut that panel anyway. And we'll take a piece of Misty Moonlight. We've got Misty Moonlight in there and sort of stamped off Misty Moonlight as well. Slightly paler tone. Let me cut this at 14.4 by 10. Now, I actually want this panel coming in on an angle like that. I'm going to hold fast. And cut that panel because I don't want it to have no, I think I am just going to give it a border. So let me stick this on here and then I can cut my border. I'm going to stick that on there. Like that. Let's come in. So what I'm doing is where this has got a bit of a ridge in it just here, I'm resting the edge of that cardstock on that ridgy bit. So I'll then get an even border on it, like that. It's rather fun. I think for this one, we'll perhaps have a bigger tree. Down this bottom. I think this tree trunk I'm going to go soft suede. I'm not going to go quite so dark. Whistle, whistle, whistle again while I dig around for oddments of soft suede, which I seem to have lots. So we'll cut our tree trunk from that, and then with these bits I think I'll go mossy meadow in the background. So we'll cut those two out. And then for this one, let's create our own. So that's a bit of card. Let's bring in some blending brushes. So we'll have a bit of misty moonlight in there. So let's have some cinnamon cider, a bit of misty moonlight, and some mossy meadow. Bring in some of that cinnamon cider. Bit of misty moonlight. Let's come on over the top. Got a blob there, but hopefully we'll be able to avoid the blob. Build up our own swirly pattern. Background colour, multi-tonal. So we've got a bit of cinnamon cider in there, a bit of blue, the rest is green. Let's see how that comes out. We can always go in and add a bit more colour to our die cut if we feel it needs a bit more of something else. So let's cut these out. Bring in our mats. Let's cut our tree trunk and branches, so our bare tree. Whiz that through. It's going to wiggle its way out of there gently, so as not to, sort of gently but firmly. We don't want to break any of the branches. We just want to release them. Isn't that fabulous? Let's come back through and let's do our solid background piece. Is that going to fit in there? I think so, just about, if we chop that bottom corner off. Bring that through. And then this bit, perhaps going to need to decide where we want that to go, and then trim round it. About there, I think. We've got rid of our smudgy bits, and then we'll need this one around the outside as well, because the inner die doesn't give you a cut edge, just the outer die. That's my other plate. There it is. Put that over there. Just make sure that those two aren't overlapping anywhere, because otherwise the one die will cut into the other die. Not what we want. Obviously, if you just wanted a pattern, oh, I tell a lie, it does cut that outer edge. It's quite interesting though, isn't it? Might use that for something. I told you, a porky. So ignore that, it does cut the outer edge. And what we've got here then is this bit, once we've poked all these inner bits out. This fun piece to go over the top. Now I might come in a bit slightly stronger colour over the top there. Try not to crease it up. Let's add in a bit more cinnamon cider and just a little touch here and there of Misty Moonlight. Move these brushes out of the way. It's raining. Which means the washing is getting wet. Let's hope that the sun comes out and clears that up and dries my washing again. Just going to add some glue to these branches. Yeah, I think we're going to go that way. Decisions, decisions. How long or tall do you want your tree? Let's bring back in our tree there. I think I might do actually. So I'm going to stick this tree to, no, it's going to have to come slightly on an angle. Let's shut these up for a minute so that we don't dabble hands or anything in them. Okay, you have to be big scissors. Let me cut this out with a bit of a border as well. Just coming around the outside. Rain might not be good for my washing, but it will be good for my newly laid lawn. Can't have it all. This week is going to be a week of sort of sunshine and showers. And let's come in down there. Yep, like that. That's just giving that some blue to pop that in the background as well. Let's go back to our greetings. Got this little splodgy stamp in here as well. I'm very fond of a blobby stamp, as you know. And we might have a bit of a hello. Let's find our tiny little stuck this in place yet. I'm just let's just put a few blobs in the background there. Let's take our little, let's cut ourselves a couple of little birds from the misty moonlight. Really cute little birds, because you do get little wings embossed on them and a little bit of an eye embossed on them as well. So you get some little features on there. They're not just outlines. Stick this in place. The nice thing about using wet glue is that you can wiggle it around and take a little bit of the gold thread that you get in the Simply Elegant suite. And let's give that a bit of a, or try and give it a bit of a gold bow. We're a bit fingers and thumbs-ish. Put some big dimensionals on the back of the tree section, but we will need mini dimensionals on the trunk. Let's come in with this little hello. We're doing well with finding these little tiny bits of white that just do the job. I think we'll have the greeting in cinnamon cider, as we've got birds in blue. Hello. Oh dear. dimensional on there. That little wing does pop out. It probably only really wants to be half a dimensional. Let's have that bird there. Where's that other little bird? I'll perhaps take a little bit from the edge. The good old bits round the edge, they're so useful. And then that way it's not peeping through the wing. Now I think I'm not going to have what I want, which is, I might have a couple of little ones. I really need to get some more of these, because we'll just add in a few little gold pieces. So again, we're going to need a piece for inside. I'm just looking around because obviously we trimmed a piece of this off, didn't we? Can I see it? Because it could be that we could use a little bit of that for inside. Aha. Now I can look for the blue. I can see a bit. I think if I carry that over there, that was actually nicked a bit just there as I've been sticking it, but I can make sure that I take it beyond there. Like that. And if we cut that off down there, and that off just there, and then we've got a nice flash of that paper on the inside as well. Like that. Could have just should we give it a flash of blue as well, just to really mirror what's happening on the outside. That wasn't very well cut. And we will just need to trim off that edge just there. There we go. So now that completely mirrors the outside. So there we are, a couple of cards made with the Beauty of the Earth suite. We brought in embossing folders, brought in the papers, brought in the die cuts, some of those greetings. So two very different looking cards, different colours. Just showing off the beauty of the earth, papers and stamps and dies and embossing folder. So I hope you've enjoyed those and that's inspired you to have a bit of a play with those things. Obviously, if you're here in the UK and you would like to get your hands on them, do message me. I would love to help you to do that. I will be back later in the week and we'll play with some more of the new things from the new annual catalogue. So take care, everyone.